Hey everyone, I'm Samira, and welcome back to the channel. If you've been paying attention to, well, anything lately, you've probably noticed that artificial intelligence, or AI, is everywhere. It's not just writing emails or creating weird art anymore. It's becoming a powerful tool in scientific research. From analyzing massive datasets that would take humans lifetimes to sift through, to simulating complex biological processes, AI is accelerating discovery in ways we could only dream of a decade ago. It's like having a super-powered lab assistant that never needs to sleep or take a coffee break, which sounds pretty amazing. But with great power, as the old saying goes, comes great responsibility. This rapid integration of AI into the research world brings a whole new set of ethical questions to the table. How do we ensure the AI isn't introducing subtle biases into our results? How do we maintain transparency when our methods involve a complex black box algorithm? Who gets the credit when a machine makes a groundbreaking discovery? These aren't just philosophical questions. They have real-world implications for the integrity of science and the trust that the public places in it. So how do we navigate this new frontier? How do we harness the incredible potential of AI without stumbling into ethical pitfalls? Well, the good news is that smart people are already thinking about this. Today, we're going to dive into 6 key recommendations for using AI responsibly in research. These guidelines are designed to help scientists, students, and all of us maintain the high standards of integrity and transparency that are the bedrock of scientific progress. Let's get into it. First up, let's talk about bias. One of the biggest challenges with AI is that it learns from the data we give it. And guess what? The data we've collected over human history is full of our own biases, both conscious and unconscious. If an AI model is trained on data that historically underrepresents certain populations, its predictions or analyses will reflect and even amplify that imbalance. For example, a medical diagnostic AI trained primarily on data from one demographic might be less accurate for others, leading to serious health disparities. It's a classic case of garbage in, garbage out. But the garbage here can have profound societal consequences. This means that as researchers, we can't just plug in an AI and trust its output blindly. We have to become digital detectives. The first recommendation is to actively identify and control for these AI-related biases and errors. This involves rigorously auditing the training data for potential biases before you even start. It means testing the model's performance across different subgroups to see if it's fair. And it requires being aware of not just systemic biases, but also random errors or hallucinations, where the AI just confidently makes stuff up. It's a constant process of vigilance. Think of it like calibrating a very sensitive, very complex instrument. You wouldn't use a microscope without making sure it's focused correctly, right? Similarly, we have to constantly check and adjust our AI tools. This might involve using specific statistical techniques to correct for bias, or even developing entirely new methods to ensure fairness. The goal isn't to find a perfect, unbiased AI, which might not even be possible, but to understand its limitations, mitigate its flaws, and be honest about the uncertainty that remains. It's about adding a layer of critical human oversight to the machine's work. Have you ever used a piece of software and had no idea how it actually works? You click a button, and magic happens. For many AI systems, especially deep learning models, it can feel a lot like that, even for the experts. They're often referred to as black boxes, because the internal decision-making process can be incredibly complex and opaque. While this complexity is what makes them so powerful, it poses a huge problem for scientific research, where reproducibility and transparency are non-negotiable principles. If you can't explain how you got your result, how can anyone else verify it? This brings us to our second recommendation. Researchers must clearly disclose and explain their use of AI and its limitations. It's not enough to just say, "We used an AI to analyze the data." That's like a chef saying, "I used an oven to cook the meal." We need the details. What specific model did you use? What were its parameters? What data was it trained on? This level of detail is crucial for other scientists to be able to replicate, validate, or build upon the research. It's about maintaining the chain of evidence that is so fundamental to the scientific method. But transparency isn't just for other scientists. It's for everyone. We need to communicate how AI was used in a way that non-experts can understand. This means avoiding overly technical jargon and explaining the role of the AI in plain language. Crucially, it also means being upfront about the tool's limitations. Was the AI only 85% accurate? Did it struggle with a certain type of data? Acknowledging these limitations isn't a sign of weak research. It's a sign of a confident, honest scientist who understands their tools. It builds trust and allows for a more informed public conversation about the role of AI in science. Scientific research doesn't happen in a vacuum. Its findings can influence public policy, shape medical treatments, and transform communities. When AI is involved, especially in fields like social science, public health, or environmental studies, the stakes are even higher. An AI-driven policy recommendation could affect housing, employment, or policing for millions of people. If the communities affected by this research don't have a voice in the process, we risk developing solutions that are not only ineffective but potentially harmful, perpetuating the very inequities we hope to solve. That's why the third recommendation is so critical. Engage with affected communities and stakeholders. This goes beyond just publishing your results and hoping for the best. It means actively seeking input from the people whose lives and data are at the center of the research right from the beginning. This could involve community advisory boards, public forums, or partnerships with local organizations. The goal is to create a two-way dialogue where researchers can understand the concerns and priorities of the community. This engagement is especially important when it comes to the issue of bias we talked about earlier. A community can often point out potential biases that a research team, no matter how well-intentioned, might have missed. They have the lived experience to know how data about them might be misinterpreted or misused. By involving them in the process, researchers can co-design studies that are more ethical, relevant, and just. It transforms the community from being passive subjects of study into active partners in the creation of knowledge. This makes the science stronger and ensures that the benefits of AI-driven research are shared more equitably. Let's talk about something that honestly sounds like a contradiction: synthetic data. This is data that isn't collected from the real world but is artificially generated by a computer algorithm, often an AI. So why would we ever do this? Well, sometimes real-world data is scarce or it's just too sensitive to share due to privacy concerns, like in healthcare, for example. Synthetic data can be a powerful solution, allowing researchers to create large, shareable datasets that mimic the statistical properties of the real thing without exposing any individual's private information. It can be used to train other AI models, test hypotheses, and fill in gaps where real data is missing. But using data that is essentially made up requires a whole new level of transparency. If people don't know that your data is synthetic, they might misinterpret your results or think your conclusions are based on more real-world evidence than they actually are. This could erode trust and lead to major misunderstandings. It's a bit like passing off a very realistic painting as a photograph. Even if it's a masterpiece, it's still a different category of information, and that distinction matters a great deal. The potential for misuse or misinterpretation is significant if not handled with care. Therefore, our fourth recommendation is to be radically transparent about synthetic data. If you use it, you have to say so, loud and clear. This starts with indicating precisely which data is synthetic and labeling it as such throughout your datasets and publications. But it goes further. Researchers should also provide a detailed description of how that synthetic data was generated, what algorithms were used, what real-world data was it modeled after. And finally, they need to explain why it was used. What was its specific purpose in the research? This transparency ensures that everyone understands the foundation of the research and can accurately judge the validity and applicability of its conclusions. As AI models become more sophisticated, they're moving beyond just analyzing data to actively generating novel ideas, hypotheses, and even text. You might use an AI to help you brainstorm, summarize articles, or even draft parts of your research paper. This raises a fascinating and honestly tricky question. If an AI contributes significantly to a discovery or a publication, who gets the credit? Should we be listing ChatGPT or AlphaFold as a co-author on our next paper? It's a debate that cuts to the heart of what we consider to be authorship and invention. The current consensus, and our fifth recommendation, is a firm no, do not credit AI as an author or inventor. The concepts of authorship and inventorship come with a lot of responsibility and accountability. An author is accountable for the integrity of the entire work, for its claims, and for its potential impact. An inventor on a patent has legal rights and responsibilities. An AI, as a tool without legal personhood, consciousness, or the ability to take responsibility, simply cannot fulfill these roles. It can't stand up and defend its work or be held accountable if something is found to be fraudulent. However, hiding the AI's contribution isn't the answer either. That would violate the principles of transparency we've already discussed. So, while an AI can't be an author, its role must be clearly acknowledged and described. This is typically done in the acknowledgements or methods section of a paper. Researchers should explain exactly which AI system was used and for what purpose. For example, we used GPT-4 to assist in drafting the literature review and to check for grammatical errors. This approach gives credit where it's due to the human researchers who guided the process, while honestly documenting the tools that made the work possible. All of these recommendations are great, but they only work if researchers actually know about them and understand why they're important. We can't expect scientists who were trained a decade or two ago to intuitively know the ethical best practices for a technology that barely existed back then. And we certainly can't expect the next generation of scientists to figure it out on their own through trial and error, especially when the errors can have such serious consequences. The landscape of science is changing, and so the education of scientists must change with it. This leads us to our final and perhaps most foundational recommendation. We must include AI ethics in research education and mentoring. This needs to become a standard part of the curriculum for graduate students and a topic for ongoing professional development for established researchers. It's not just about teaching people how to use the latest AI tool. It's about teaching them how to think critically about it. This means creating courses, workshops, and training modules focused specifically on the responsible conduct of research in the age of AI. These educational efforts should cover all the topics we've discussed today: identifying bias, ensuring transparency, engaging with communities, and properly acknowledging the AI's role. It's about building a culture of responsibility from the ground up. By embedding AI ethics into the very fabric of scientific training, we equip researchers with the skills and the ethical framework they need to navigate this complex new world. It ensures that as our tools evolve, our principles of scientific integrity don't just keep up, but lead the way, safeguarding the future of research for everyone. So there you have it, 6 key recommendations for navigating the exciting and ethically complex world of AI in research. From tackling bias and being transparent, to engaging with communities and educating the next generation, these guidelines provide a roadmap for responsible innovation. Using AI in science isn't just about getting faster results or analyzing more data. It's about upholding the core values that make science such a powerful force for good: integrity, rigor, accountability, and a commitment to serving humanity. By using these powerful new tools thoughtfully and ethically, we can ensure that our pursuit of knowledge remains trustworthy and beneficial for all. The conversation around AI is moving incredibly fast, and it's not just for scientists and policymakers. This affects all of us. The best thing you can do is to stay curious and stay informed. Read about new developments, ask critical questions about how AI is being used in the world around you, and participate in the discussion. The more we all understand both the promise and the perils of AI, the better equipped we'll be to shape a future where technology serves our highest ideals. It's a collective responsibility, and every informed voice makes a difference in steering this ship. Thank you so much for joining me today to explore this super important topic. I hope this gives you a clearer picture of how the research community is working to keep science sound in the age of AI. If you found this video helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of science and technology. And let me know in the comments what other ethical questions about AI are on your mind. Until next time, stay curious.